guys ready? Hello, hi. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Hi, I'm Jonathan Chen, Chief International Business Officer for Microport, and welcome to Microport's High Tea session for Target AC. This afternoon, we welcome and are honored to have two of our co-PIs for our Target All-Comers trial, Dr. Alexandra Lansky and Dr. Andreas Bombach. Today we'll go through a little bit of a summary of our Target AC trial. For those that have not heard yet, Target AC has been officially accepted by the Lancet in the publication that was announced 2 weeks ago. This is the first time that a Chinese manufacturer drug-eluting stent, the clinical data, has been presented in such a world-class prestigious journal. And so we're very proud of that. And today we've had the two principal investigators that were a large part of that success. And we welcome their comments today on their experience with Target AC. So, Dr. Lansky, maybe I'll start with you. You are co-author and author of over 500 peer-reviewed publications. Can you comment on what is the significance of being accepted in the Lancet publication?
So I have to say it's a high honor for all of us. So for Microport, for the team, the investigators, the whole investigative team. I think what it speaks to is the quality of the data. I think it speaks to the quality of the device. I think it speaks to the quality of how you ran that clinical trial and the whole team that came together to execute this. So again, I mean, it's a quality, and I think you have to be very proud of that.
Great. And Dr. Bombach, this is also the first time Microport has executed such a large-scale trial, an all-comers trial. Could you comment on how or what the significance of an all-comers trial patient population, what does that mean for Firehawk and the stent industry?
Well, that's a big question. The all-comers, I've just come back from the main arena where we had another 3 all-comer trials presented. The all-comer trials is a concept that you actually test a stent as close to your normal cath lab environment as possible, with as little exclusion criteria as possible. It is a trial that opens you up, of course, to complex procedures, to difficult access, you can only do that if you have a stent that really performs as a workhorse and performs as well as the standard.
Yep.
It's not a highly selected patient population where you take out the very complicated patients or where you could have failure. This is a real test. So you're asking, what does it mean for the Firehawk? I believe the Firehawk has really passed this test. It is non-inferior. We've participated in the trial. I know what kind of lesions we've done. We've seen a lot of these lesions.
Right.
It was put in and it performed as well as the stent that we would normally use.
Yep.
So a workhorse stent that performs well and shows great safety and efficacy data as good as the current standard.
Great.
That's what it means.
Great, yeah. And one of the things that we tout about the Firehawk stent is the target eluting concept, right? The concept of using a very low drug dosage and achieving similar clinical efficacy as kind of the best-in-class stent. So Dr. Lansky, again, commenting on the experience of Target, what should clinicians take away from the Target AC data as relates to the target eluting concept?
Sure. So just to talk a little bit about the platform, as you're alluding to, it's probably the most bare metal stent type of drug-eluting stent. So because the polymer, the biodegradable polymer with drug combination is localized within the grooves that are on the surface of the stent, you're enabling very low dose, very low density, right? And it all goes within 90 days.
Yep.
So the concept here is that you're minimizing inflammation, you're maximizing healing.
Yep.
So as we look at the results from the study, it met its primary endpoint. It was designed for non-inferiority of target lesion target lesion failure. Sorry, and the outcomes were virtually identical between the two groups. If you look at the components of that primary endpoint, cardiovascular death, MI, revascularization, all extremely low.
Yep.
I would point out that when we looked at target lesion revascularization, it was 1.2%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unheard of.
Right.
And it was actually numerically lower compared to the Science V, the durable polymer drug-eluting stent, with a P of 0.8. So it was a trend. It was not significant.
Right.
But clearly,
Trending the right direction.
trending in the right direction. The other issue is safety, of course, that's very important. Stent thrombosis is exactly identical in both groups at 1.2%.
Great.
So again, I absolutely agree. It's a very highly performing device with outstanding results.
Great. And Dr. Bombach, your center actually also participated in the study. You firsthand have operator experience with the stent. Maybe can you comment a little bit on specifically the performance of the stent itself under your specific direction, and just give everybody a user feel of the kind of lesions that performed well?
Absolutely, I'm delighted to do that. So first-hand experience, and this is not promotional. This is what we've seen in Bristol, and I've discussed it with my colleagues. We had 4 operators putting these stents in. The first thing that you can see with the Firehawk is it's a little bit more visible than the other stents, which enables you to place it, if it's for osteal lesions or in bifurcations, in a very nice way, and you can see it afterwards. You can see the expansion. The other thing that is very notable is it has high radial force. That is, the recoil is minimal with this stent, which again is a quality marker. Outstanding, I think it becomes because, particularly when we go into bifurcation or left main stem stenting, both of which we've done inside the all-comers trial, the large side branch access becomes beneficial. So we've done absolutely everything. We've done provisional T-stenting and culotte stenting, and with excellent results. This is truly a workhorse stent with absolutely high performance criteria.
Great, thank you. And Dr. Lancy, going back to you, so we're here at TCT 2018, and there's a lot of sessions going on about metal stents, about absorbable scaffolds, right? The operator today really has a lot of devices at their disposal in their armamentarium to treat coronary artery disease. So again, where do you think Firehawk should fit into that whole spectrum of possible devices that operators can use to treat?
Sure. So I think next sort of frontiers for Firehawk specifically, high bleeding risk patients. We're seeing it happening all over around us with different devices, but that is a sizable population. And I think there's a need. And I think specifically with your device, the low density, the low drug dose, I think you're very well positioned to do that with reduced apt at 1 month. So I think that's very important. STEMI patients. So in Target AC, we had 8% STEMI patients. The results were very consistent, but I think it would be very good to do a definitive study in that context to understand the safety and effectiveness in that patient population. Another one, maybe a little bit more provocative, is the left main multivessel disease population. That's always an evolving, field, and we've had Excel that was compared to Science. I think, multiple stents in that context and really looking at sort of the next generation would be important. And specifically, I'll make a plug for female patients, because in the female cohorts from Excel and Noble, we're actually seeing CABG being the preferred outcome. Whether that's reality or not, I think it's underrepresentation of female patients, but they do have specific criteria, smaller vessels, etc. So I think it does need to be tested. So I think those are three areas that are important and something for you to think about.
Dr. Bombach, anything to add on that very extensive, exhaustive list?
Extensive, exhaustive. I'll bring it back to what I would like to see is, I mean, I would like to see this being one of the stents that is named as the gold standard stents as we go along, as the one that you could have on the shelf next to or instead of what we have on the shelf currently. The only other thing I would like to add is because of the concept of this becoming a nice bare metal stent fairly early, I'm really interested to see the very long-term results and see whether, at the moment we're talking non-inferiority, this may actually turn into something even more exciting after 2 or 3 years.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I think we were all heartened, I think, particularly at your EuroPCR presentation. I think I recall that, Dr. Marty Leone even said that with the Target AC data that it now warrants to consideration to be in that elite group of stents, whatever you define the elite group to be. But what are your thoughts on that? And also, before we got on the stage, you also talked about, what Professor Patrick Soroy also just said in the main arena. So maybe Dr. Bombach and Dr. Lancey comment on that.
Okay, well, that's just indeed, whether you call it elite or the standard or the gold standard, I think Target AC is a big enough trial with high quality against the current gold standard in a general population. I believe that is justification to say this stent is up there in the league, whether you call it elite or platinum or gold or whatever, but it's up there, equal. And that's, I think, the main statement here.
I think you've established through this trial that you are performing at the highest level with the gold standard. And I think that's the important point. And it's across all lesions, all patient subgroups that we looked at. So you've ticked that box.
Great, excellent. And I think right now we would like to open it up to some Q&A from the audience. If there are any questions that you have for Dr. Lansky or Dr. Bombach.
Don't be shy.
Yes, Alexander, did you see, taking in account the less amount of drug in Firehawk, did you see any data, safety data beyond 1 year?
So I think
difference between both stents design?
So what we have looked at so far, what we've looked at so far is the 1 year. So that's what is in this publication, right? We did build into the trial a landmark analysis. So we're going to be looking between 12 months and 5 years, a landmark analysis to see if there's actually superiority of Firehawk compared to the durable stent. And we're just going to have to wait for those results. Right now, we don't have the data. We're tracking, following up patients, etc. But it is built in, and obviously an important question.
That makes sense, no?
It makes
sense because the neoarteriosclerosis is regarded to the polymer, not only the polymer, also for the amount of drug. Less drug, maybe less neoarteriosclerosis.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, point well taken. Reduced inflammation, and more healing in the longer term, and that's what we will be testing.
There you go.
Any other questions?
Dr. Bambach, did you treat the high bleeding risk patients with this stent in your experience? Did you try to stop the DAPT maybe after 3 months, 1 month?
No, we did not. We did not. Because it was part of the trial, so we didn't want to mess it up. We had an all-comers population, but we didn't take every single high-risk situation. We wanted to have the dual antiplatelet treatment at least conform.
And what are your thoughts about, will there be a possibility to treat those patients with shorter DAPT with this stent?
I think short in any case. I can tell you we have an OCT subgroup, and the OCT sub-study is in neurointervention. It's online, but is about to go into print. Showed absolute identical performance of the recoverage, call it reendothelialization coverage of stent struts at 3 months. So we don't know how it looks after 1 month. I'm sure we can extrapolate from data from the Xion's experience, because it really looks identical in terms of what we see. Generally, I think if you have a high bleeding risk patient, then you can probably reduce the DAP duration. 3 months, I think, would be safe from this point of view. I don't have data to suggest that you can just stop it at 1 month. I would generally try to do as long as possible, but I wouldn't see it different from what happens in the current gold standard stent. Does that answer your question?
Any other questions?
Based on target AC non-inferior endpoint meet, so does the Firehawk really join the stent elite club?
Does. Sorry.
That's for you.
Does it join the, well, it flies up there. The Firehawk is flying elite, and I think up there with the others, definitely.
Did you find any difference in subgroup analysis, for instance, bifurcation? Because it's true, Firehawk is the great stent for left main, is my number one stent, and in bifurcation also. And the science is not so nice in bifurcation.
So, data first, experience, you know, I did the Firehawk left main in Buenos Aires at your meeting, went well. We did a lot of bifurcations and culotte stent. I think it's a brilliant stent for bifurcations. We can't see that in the data. That would be another small trial to be done. But I echo your views. The data don't show any negative. And clinical practice says it's a great stent for bifurcations and left mains.
So tomorrow I'll be presenting a poster looking at all the subgroups. There were 30% bifurcations. There were few left mains. I think it was 5%. It was actually not a big proportion, right? But I can tell you every single subgroup we looked at, small vessel, long lesions, calcified lesions, bifurcations, bifurcation with stents. The primary endpoint, very consistent, and if you look at stent thrombosis, it's the same. So very, very consistent results in every single one of the subgroups.
Okay, Dr. Lansky, Dr. Baumbach, continue from previous question. Could you please give us a headshot about tomorrow's poster session? Like your experience on the Firehawk, what's the best scenario, or what's the best type of lesion do you think Firehawk is suitable for?
All of them. No, honestly, we haven't gone through large populations of CTO, we haven't gone through large populations of left main, but we did not, after a roll-in phase in our center, and I know the other centers that have done hundreds of cases have had exactly the same. After a while, you just realize you don't have to select. This stent will go anywhere.
Great. Just looking around, I think we've exhausted all of our questions. So let me conclude with this, and let me summarize the session with this. So MicroPort, we are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year as a company, and so this is certainly one of the crown achievements for MicroPort to have the Firehawk and the clinical data be recognized by such a well-respected, prestigious medical community, clinician community. And again, on behalf of the entire Microport, we would like to thank both of you for your tremendous work and your effort in getting this tremendously important clinical data out into the medical community. And we'd like to thank everyone here also to support Firehawk going forward. So this concludes the formal session. And as Dr. Lansky said, we'll have a moderated poster session tomorrow at, I believe, 1:09 p.m. So please attend that. And thank you for coming today. And look forward to keeping in touch with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.